Hey, I'm Mary.
And I'm Jake.
And you're listening to The Fly Angle, the official RDU Airport podcast.
And we're back for episode 6 of The Fly Angle. Mary, how you doing?
I mean, I feel like I'm ready to take off, right?
Yeah.
The Fly Angle has been doing really well. We're good. Spring is in the air.
Yeah. That was a fun episode last time with Christy from Raleigh-Durham.
I was really moved. Christy is a great leader, as I mentioned to her, but we have our own beer at RDU. I don't know that it gets much better than that.
That's the pinnacle of cool.
Yes. That was a really good episode. And, really giving a local feel to our airport. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what Christy's group is doing and where it's headed.
Yeah, pop over to Raleigh Tap Room.
Yes.
It is available. They're doing an awesome job over there.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. Speaking of awesome, March was the busiest so far.
Yeah, our passenger volume in the last month has been really crazy. It was the busiest month at a lot of airports, most airports, including RDU, since the onset of COVID-19 last year. What we're seeing is the current March traffic projection for RDU is calling for something like 470,000 passengers during the month. That's like 58% more than what it was in February. So if you've spent any time around the terminals in the last 4 or 5 weeks, you've probably seen it. There are a lot more people. Everybody's being safe. Thankfully, they're wearing their masks, they're socially distancing. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is making that change?
We've seen the peaks during our holidays and some of the seasonal travel, but also spring breakers. I think that plays into it. I want to talk about that in a second. But I also think that just getting people vaccinated, that level of comfort is going up. We've seen a lot of survey results that indicate something similar. And I think people are just ready to go.
Yeah, it's probably something, a little bit of everything. I know with the vaccine distribution in North Carolina, they've been getting more and more aggressive with it. It's grouped into 5 groups, and group 4 and group 5 are about to become eligible, which means basically if you're an adult, you can go get it. So we know that that's having an effect, but I think you're right. I think it might be spring break. I know that I'm ready to get on a plane.
Where are you going?
So I think, well, this is, I'm a little out of school age, although I like to pretend that sometimes I am. I think I'm going to head down to the Florida Gulf, just maybe like Destin, Miramar Beach for a week at the end of April.
White sand there.
Yeah, a lot of R&R, turning my phone off.
Good stuff.
What about you?
I'm trying to consider, I had a trip planned last year to Mexico. And Cancun is one of the 2 international destinations that we are flying nonstop to. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to weave it back into my plans. I want to get away to that sunshine. We've been talking about that, but I mean, it's real.
Can't say I blame you. It looks amazing.
Exactly. And our VP, she took a trip to Tulum maybe a couple months ago. And she said she felt really safe traveling. She said that it was smooth, but also she came back and she was good. So kind of got that bug. I've got the fever, and maybe you do too. Definitely check out our website for information. Like I said, we're back to 38 nonstop destinations, 2 of which are international, and we just want to see a return.
With all of those people, we get to finally say a phrase that we haven't said in like 13 months. And that phrase is, get here 2 hours early if you're flying. Because
there you have it.
So much more crowded than you probably are expecting. There are people flying, especially this time of year. And with a 57% growth month over month from February to March, that means that there are going to be more lines than there were.
Exactly. Our terminal operations team is right there in the terminals, making sure that people are distancing. So again, that's going to take a little more time for processing through TSA and security checks and whatnot. So do come prepared. Like Jake likes to say, pack your patience and get ready to fly. We're ready to take off, right?
Yeah.
What else is going on?
We're getting ready to launch that Sun Country flight, that inaugural flight to Minneapolis. We're really excited about that one. Again, that's Sun Country is doing a nonstop to Minneapolis. That becomes our 11th airline here at RDU. Those guys love carrying leisure travelers, and what better time, right? We have an influx of leisure travelers at RDU. I think other airports are experiencing the same thing between our other similar carriers like Frontier and Allegiant. And even Southwest. they are taking people where they want to go, but it's, still predominantly a leisure crowd.
It is
traveling right now.
It is definitely heavy on that side. We recently completed a major event here at the airport, right? I know my family was like, please don't talk anymore about this. Please don't. But we do something called Sky Drill. It's a training that the airport does, and it's mandated by the FAA. But, we did really well.
Yeah, this is something that, maybe the layperson doesn't really get to see because they come to the airport, they board their flight, they go. But call it every 3 years, the FAA does require us to go through kind of a full-scale emergency response exercise. And this is kind of a capabilities exercise, but also just making sure that our protocols and our processes for responding to a crisis of whatever kind, that could be a wide-ranging scale of things, but a lot of people don't realize this, but the airport has its own crash fire rescue department. We have our own law enforcement division. All those personnel have offices here and work here on a 24-hour basis.
Right.
So no matter what, this is a small city in that regard. We have a lot of people who come here and have a lot of different roles, and many of those are around emergency response. So good news is we got through it. We don't have to do it again for a few years.
Right. And our operations team, just everybody across campus, our partners, our mutual aid partners were fantastic. We often are asked about our roles here, and we are unique in that we're communication. So we kind of have a feel of the different operations, and we're more public facing. But behind the scenes, there are so many things going on and so many teams that work so hard to keep everyone safe, to keep the airport operating smoothly. And so, big kudos to everybody that participated.
Yeah. And it was a community effort.
Seriously.
We had Wake County EMS was there. You had the Cary Fire Department there. You had, all these other agencies, public agencies from around the Triangle who came and made it a success. So while it was housed here, it took the entirety of the community to get it done right. So we're really excited to put it behind us,
yes.
but also to see how well it went.
Yes, absolutely. Jake, any airmail?
We do have an airmail question today. Let's get into it. So today's question comes from Derek F. Derek asks, what would be the feasibility of adding a flight to Honolulu?
Ooh.
Would it be worth it? And has it been investigated before?
Oh, Derek.
I can tell you that I investigate going to Honolulu on a near daily basis.
I think COVID might have canceled one of your trips.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Hawaii last year. Had to punt on that trip, unfortunately. Maybe in 2021. Who knows?
Explain to Derek about our runways and what goes into something like his question.
Yeah, so there are a lot of factors that would go into the feasibility of flying from RDU to Hawaii. One would be runway length. And I can tell you good news is that runway length isn't a problem at RDU. It really depends on the airline and the aircraft. It's really more of a function of demand.
Right.
And so there's a concept in aviation called passengers per day each way. And that number so basically it says, here are the people flying on a daily basis to and from two destinations. That number really dictates for airlines and for air service planners, whether you're at the airport or just in the industry, so much of the economics of how we arrive on like getting a new nonstop destination or getting new added air service, or if an airline wants to enter a market or even leave a market. In 2019, so this is before the pandemic, we averaged something like 92 passengers per day each way between RDU and all Hawaiian markets. Interestingly enough, that was more than the 69 per day each way between our friends in Charlotte and Hawaii.
Wow.
Not that Raleigh and Charlotte have a competition of any, I think we're kind of brotherly or sisterly at this point, unless it's kind of like who's going to get the next MLB franchise. But I thought that was fascinating that there are a couple of dozen more people flying between RDU and Hawaii than there are in Charlotte.
Right. And that passenger per day each way figure dropped dramatically, right, when COVID hit, and due in part to travel restrictions in Hawaii. But, again, like Jake said, that demand. And another shameless plug, we really dug deep in this in our episode with our air service director, Kenneth Strickland. So, Derek, if you want to check out that episode, he'll kind of explain what goes into securing a flight like that.
Yeah, so again, it's that passengers per day each way, so it's passenger demand, it's airlines and aircraft. So somebody like a Hawaiian Airlines, those guys they fly Airbus A330s. That aircraft, in theory, could make it. So it comes down to, is the demand there? So stay tuned, maybe one day.
I'll get in line.
Me too.
I'll be first. You hear that?
Want to get into some headlines, Mary?
Yes, let's do it. RDU has rolled out a new resource to help flyers plan for their upcoming trip. The new travel requirements page at RDU.com shares real-time information about travel restrictions, quarantine requirements, and lots more to help you find out what you can expect your next visit or trip.
So this tool has gotten a lot of feedback already. We're seeing literally thousands and thousands of people using it already, which makes me feel good about the future of aviation in the research triangle.
Right.
So something interesting, RDU is the first airport in the world to make this kind of app available. To do it, we partnered with a company called SmartVel. They're based in Spain. Together, we developed this travel requirements resource. It's kind of an app on our website. So if you go to rdu.com, under travel info, look for travel requirements, and you'll be able to find it. And so basically, it's a map that's interactive, as well as kind of an origin and destination, just traditional search. So no matter where you're coming from or trying to go to, I think we default RDU in the from, and then put wherever you'd like to go in the to, and it will populate with everything you could possibly want. So quarantine restrictions, it'll have, do you have to provide proof of a negative test to get back on the plane?
Right.
Down to, do you have to wear a mask in this state when you arrive there? This stuff updates, I think, 5,000 times a day. The
real time for you, right?
Yeah, the SmartVille folks are really ahead of the curve when it comes to just scraping data in real time, and it's a really cool tool. Please check it out. We worked really hard on it.
It's easy to use, too. You literally navigate over the different states and information pops up. It's very interactive. Our focus is instilling confidence and collaborating and being innovative to ease that experience and make it smooth, world-class for you. And that's exactly what this app does.
So one thing that's neat about SmartVille is they actually are already working with Delta and United Airlines and others in travel and tourism to provide this kind of tool for them. It's my hope that, based on the success of this, we'd like to see some other airports come online with it too. And even, like convention and visitors bureaus, I could see anybody using this.
Exactly. And again, you can check out the new tool today at rdu.com. Just look under travel info for travel requirements, and there you will have it. Also, RDU recently released the results of another travel survey to understand how confident travelers are currently feeling. The survey found that people are more likely to travel by air as distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine becomes more widespread. So that's great news.
Yeah. So, and that kind of lines up with some of the actual passenger volume we're seeing, right?
Exactly.
So here's what we found from the survey. So 76% of respondents told us that being vaccinated makes traveling by airline safer. 72% said they have flown since getting the vaccine or intend to fly after they get the shot. That's great news. And then 91% indicated they have either already been partially or fully vaccinated or intend to be soon. So really encouraging, makes sense with all the numbers we're seeing. But the takeaway is that people with this vaccine, they feel confident in flying it again. And they should. If you go to our website and look at all the Fly Confident information about all the different safety measures that both we're taking and the airlines are taking and that the concessionaires are taking, you should feel safe.
I want to point out, too, you've mentioned this in previous episodes, and our CEO, Michael Langeth, also mentions a Harvard research study that really show that the measures the airports have in place are protecting customers. In fact, so much so that it's just as safe as going to the grocery store. So again, reiterating the confidence that travelers have based on the data that we received in the survey is what we want to express to you all as you're considering your next trip. And we really feel confident that we have prepared and are ready to see you soon.
Good stuff. No matter where you're flying, You always have to interact with the Transportation Security Administration at RDU and other airports. And with us today, we have a special guest. Andrew Small is the Stakeholder Liaison for Eastern North Carolina. Andrew, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thank you guys. Pleasure to be here and speak with you. It's a pleasure to get a chance to speak directly to our community, and appreciate you having me on today.
Great.
We're so glad you are here. Tell us a little bit about your role, Andrew.
Sure. So I am the Stakeholder Liaison for Eastern North Carolina, which means I cover 7 airports in the state, from Greensboro all the way to the coast, with RDU being my hub. So I'm based just a few minutes outside of the airport property in an office here. And my job is to basically, I work with the airport authorities, CEO here at RDU, all the other airport directors, and I also work with the airline station managers. In my job, I work directly for the Federal Security Director, and I report to these airports and I say, what do you need from TSA? What's good? What's bad? How can we help you? And we work together to make the checkpoint experience better for the customer when they come through the airport. So I just directly engage, and I go back to the security director, and I'm kind of that liaison between them, so they have somebody they can reach out to and say, hey, we have an issue with TSA, or we have something we want to push on TSA. Can you help us with that? And I'm the person they call.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about your journey to this place? How did you get to this role? How did you get started with TSA?
Sure, fantastic. So I've been with TSA now for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So I went ahead and started in college. I started part-time, which is a unique opportunity amongst the federal government. We have part-time opportunities, so you'll see a lot of our workforce are part-time in school while also working for the government and supporting the passengers here at RDU and our other airports. I started my role while I was in school, and after college, after studying aviation there, I had that part-time role, and I was able to go to Chicago Midway Airport, where I was trained as a behavioral detection officer. So I got to do that for a few years, and after that, I supervised the employee screening teams at that airport. And then about 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to come to RDU in this area for a promotion, and I took that. And I've been working in the program management team a couple years, and then an opportunity came up to be the stakeholder liaison. My predecessor retired, and I took that role, and I've been in that role now about 3 years. It's been a great opportunity. I really got to know this community very well. My wife and I are very pleased to be here. Just got ourselves a 9-month-old puppy.
That's exciting.
We're calling it a pandemic puppy. So
There's
great.
a lot of those going
Oh,
around.
there is, and she's a sweetheart, and it's just the 3 of us right now.
Is the pup a feature candidate for your workplace?
I told her, I'm going to get her a vest and start training her early. She could be one of those TSA canines maybe one day.
That's great. Well, let's get into it. We know that many travelers returning to the skies haven't flown in a while. Is there anything different that they should expect when they arrive at the security checkpoint, whether in Terminal 1 or Terminal 2?
The first thing you're going to know is visually. The optics of our checkpoint have changed tremendously since COVID, as you can imagine.
Sure.
You're going to come to our airport now. You're going to see a lot more acrylic shielding. You're going to see social distancing when you come in now. You're also going to see a lot more cleaning going on. So as part of the CARES Act that was passed, TSA got funding. We were able to work with RDU Airport to implement a cleaning program that is enhancing the cleaning that would normally take place. So above and beyond what RDU would normally do, right now, every time a bin comes through the airport, that bin is desanitized and then brought back to the front so it's clean. The also team is going around wiping down all the touch points, all the surface areas that you might encounter at the airport. So we're really working diligently at the airport to make sure that safety is the number one priority, whether it be on your flight, whether it be for security reasons, or whether it be COVID related. So you're going to see a lot more cleaning at the airport. You're also going to see a lot more visual cues as far as that social distancing cues, and also you're going to see the shielding. When you come up to the ticket check-in at TSA, you'll see it looks like we call it a little phone booth now, so that you can hand the officer your ID. And also, we just implemented new technology at RDU. It's called the CAT system, Credential Authentication System. It's electronic. So now the passenger, all they have to do is put their ID themselves into the machine. They don't have to physically hand over that boarding pass document or that ID to our officer. They can put that ID in there. The machine will read it, and the officer on the other end will be able to verify the ID and then ensure that they have a ticket for that day. So those are just some great things that TSA is coming up with locally here, implementing at RDU, just to make the experience that much more safe.
Yeah, so that's kind of a touchless system when it's all said and done.
Yeah, as we're rolling it out, there are going to be instances where they may have to verify your ID and you may have to hand it over
Sure.
a ticket, certain instances. But for the most part, and the vast majority of customers now, they're able to just put their ID in and then take their ID out. and that'll be their experience coming through the TSA. Everything that we're doing at the checkpoint is to try and lessen the touch points, lessen the spread of the COVID-19, and keep that to a minimum as possible. We try and keep it safe for our officers. We want everybody that works for TSA to be safe, and we want the traveling public and our community to be safe. We want to help everything we can do to help slow that spread down.
That's been kind of an interesting experience, really through that whole, I like to call it the passenger or the traveler journey, from the parking deck all the way to sitting on the plane and getting into the air. And we've tried to minimize those touch points all along, whether it's us or you guys or the concessionaires if they're sitting down to have a meal even.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing here at RDU in this community is a lot of teamwork involved. It's not just the TSAs and it's not just the RDU Airport Authority, the airlines. We're all working together to have a cohesive plan so that, just as you said, it's one from A to B to get on your flight and land at your destination safely. We want to make that experience as safe as possible and do everything we can to ensure that the public is confident when they fly and they know that leadership from all areas is doing what they can to make sure that the experience is going to be safe for them and their family.
We definitely appreciate that partnership. Andrew, one of the most common questions that we receive is about which items are prohibited to take through the checkpoint and onto a flight, and which are the ones that you experience more frequently at RDU?
That's a great question, and that comes up very, very often, especially for TSA. We have passengers all the time asking what they can and can't bring on their flight. Of course, one of the most common ones that comes up that people bring, they'll ask, can I bring my food with me? Can I bring, what can be and what can't be? So the question, if it's food and it's solid, that's allowed through the checkpoint. If it's, hummus or something that's more liquidy, that's going to be considered a liquid. And it really depends what it is. That's why we always say it's good to check with your airline and check with TSA before you fly. TSA.gov is a great resource.
It is.
Also, TSA has an app that you can download on your phone, and the app is very, intuitive. All you do is put, I'm trying to bring through pizza. Can I bring this? Put in pizza, TSA app will tell you, yep, you can bring that through in checked baggage, or you can bring it through the checkpoint.
That's really helpful, too, to point out because I have a lot of family that have asked. And so I sent an email over to you guys and I was referred to the website and that tool. And I literally tell everyone about it now because it's so intuitive. It definitely answers all your questions.
Oh, we appreciate
helpful.
that. That is so great because the more that information get out there, the less stress the passenger has when they're coming to the airport. Flying can be a very stressful situation.
Sure.
And everything that we can do to put that information out there and, alleviate some of that stress is what we're trying to do. Some of the most common prohibited items that you will see, a lot of folks will bring their pocket knives. Pocket knives are something a lot of our passengers will carry and not even kind of think about until they come through TSA screening. That's still a prohibited item, and we just ask that before you fly, please make sure you're checking for these prohibited items because not only what happens is it's going to slow down your experience because we're going to have to go ahead and check your bag, open it up, and find that prohibited item. What's going to happen is everyone behind you is now going to have to wait because the officer is going to have to go do that bag, and it may slow down the experience for everyone coming through. So the best thing you can do is make sure you're ready before you fly. Check for all those prohibited items. Some of those items, like a pocket knife, that can go in your checked bag. You can go ahead and take that and put it in your checked luggage. You just can't bring it through in the checkpoint and have it as a carry-on item. So that's where that app and TSA.gov really comes into play because it's going to help you understand what I can bring, what I can't bring, and the way I can bring it. And that, I think, is the most important part, is getting that information out to the public.
Absolutely. And are there any items that people may think are prohibited but really are not, or vice versa?
Another thing that I want to bring up, just with the COVID-19 going on right now, hand sanitizers. Because that's one of the things when you come to the airport, what we're asking now is everyone, please wash your hands when you come in, have your mask on, do all the things you should be doing. But that hand sanitizer, TSA is now allowing that. I want to make sure the community knows that, up to 12 ounces. So you can bring that hand sanitizer because we want you to use that hand sanitizer. The airport, I know, provides hand sanitizer stations around the airport as well. Another thing we ask too right now is when you have things in your pockets when you're coming through, put those pocket items in your bag. And so that way you're not taking them out and putting them in a bin, and then that goes in a bin. Even though we're cleaning the bins, we still want you to make sure that everything touch points, that you're not keeping things out that are going to then go right back into your pockets. You're going to touch it later. You're going to touch it on the flight. Things like car keys, change, all those type of deals.
That's funny you mentioned that. That's a trick that I've always used, at least personally, mainly because I'm just so prone to leaving things in the bins. I'm sure you're lost and found has grown precipitously just because of me. So I know other people are probably the same. So that's a smart tip.
Absolutely.
That's great.
We do our best to reunite passengers with their lost property when they leave it, but that can become quite an adventure when you have multiple items that are left on a daily basis. So please make sure always when you leave the checkpoint, make sure you check that bin that you have everything with you. Our customer service department does a great job, but that's just less on them having to figure out and track what property we have and then go ahead and reunite that with the passenger later on. So yeah, we do ask that as well. Another important thing that I want to discuss today, firearms at the checkpoint. That continues to be something that TSA takes a very strong look at every year.
Sure.
That's a situation we want to really avoid at the checkpoint. There could be civil penalties involved. There could be fines up to $10,000. You could lose your pre-check status. We really want folks to understand that. And also to understand that, if you're a hunter and you say, well, how do I fly with my firearm? There are ways to fly with a firearm and be in compliance with TSA. That's through the checked baggage. You want to make sure that you have your firearm unloaded. It's in a locked, hard-sided container. Ammunition, everything is locked. And then when you get to your airline, you have to declare that firearm. The airline will then know that you have the firearm. TSA will then know you have the firearm. We'll ensure that's properly packaged. And then when you get to your destination for hunting or whatever other reason, you now have your firearm with you. So it's very important to understand the rules on that. Also, again, I keep saying TSA.gov is your best friend when it comes for answers as far as trying to figure out what I can and can't bring. So we really want to make sure the community double check, triple check, make sure you don't have loose ammunition in your bag, firearm itself, all those type of things before you get to the airport. It's going to make the experience much better for you and also make it safer for everybody traveling through our airport.
All right, so what else does the community need to know as they're getting ready to fly again, Andrew?
Oh, that's a great question. A few things we just want to make sure that the community is aware of. Real ID, if you haven't heard about Real ID, just want to kind of mention that today on the podcast. That is a act passed by Congress, I think it was back in 2005, and it really establishes the security minimums for issuing of licenses by state, and that minimum is then passed on to the federal government on the IDs we can accept. Well, there's a new deadline I want everybody to be aware of. That is October 1st, 2021, that when you're going to be flying through RDU Airport and you want to use your license as your primary form of ID, you're going to need to have that as a real ID. And the way to check that, there's a little star on top of the ID, but you can also check the NCDMV website. Please look into getting your real ID. We really want the community to understand that real ID is going to be important. It's going to make it much easier for you to fly through an airport if you have the real ID. So I really ask the community understands real ID. And if they have any questions, they can go to TSA.gov. We have a lot of information on there about Real ID. They can also go to the NCDMV website as well to find out more about Real ID.
So one thing that resonates with me hearing you talk about these things is just the preparation before you fly, knowing before you go,
Yes.
you tapping into your resources. RDU.com has a host of resources. You've heard Andrew say the TSA.gov website, a wealth of information. So just thinking ahead and planning ahead to prepare so that your experience is smooth so that everyone here at the airport can support you in that travel.
I couldn't have said that any better than you just said it right there. It's all about preparation, especially now we're starting to see with the vaccine rollout in this state, we're starting to see that people are starting to fly again, which is really great to see at the checkpoint. You're actually starting to see a little bit longer lines again, which is all great stuff at the airport. We want to see our community get back in, understand that it's safe to travel again, and we start to see that increase. But within the increase comes more checked baggages, more TSA having to open up bags because people forgot their items, didn't know they couldn't bring something, have a firearm, all these different type of things. We want to make sure preparation is key, whether it be Real ID, whether it be making sure you check your firearm responsibly and safely, all those type of things. We're asking that everyone prepare for your flight, and you're going to have a really enjoyable experience. Everyone here is on your side trying to make it a safe experience, not just for you, but for everybody else coming through here.
If you're a member of the community and this is sounding intriguing to you, what might be a step you take to explore this career?
So this is a great opportunity, like I said, especially if you're younger and you're in school right now and you want to find a great part-time opportunity to serve the community and work with, different aspects of government service. Is a great place to start. Also, veterans. I think we have at RD alone, almost 20% of our workforce is veteran.
Really?
So,
that's cool.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of ways to go through the federal government. TSA is a great way to start off your career. We're looking for folks that want to serve their community. Civil service. You want to come in, you want to be here for the right reasons. And then from there, it's really about learning what you can contribute, what your passion is, and then taking that career and going off. When I came into TSA, I didn't necessarily think I'd be sitting here doing a podcast one day, but here we are.
Here you are.
You just find what your strengths are, and you kind of hone those skills, and the government is going to train you. And I've gone through multiple government training sessions for different aspects, conflict resolution, all those type of things that you'll be trained along the way. And you may say to yourself, hey, I really like that. I want to either maybe my school studies, I want to kind of go that route, or maybe that's something that trajectory-wise, take myself down that career path. The best way to apply for any federal job is through usajobs.gov. And then you can look in our area, and it's a searchable asset, so you can go ahead and say, what do you have in the Raleigh area? What do you have in the North Carolina area? And then that job comes up. They'll give you all the requirements for that job. And that requirement doc will help you say, okay, do I have these skills already? Do I need to work towards these skills to get that certain position? Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of help yourself go through that. Apply. You'll go through our interview process, and then hopefully one day you'll be a colleague of mine, and it'd be great to have more members of this community. We very much want to have that community focus when you come and work for TSA, and it's a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of folks, especially with the part-time. We have folks that this is their second or third career. Maybe they just want to do a part-time thing, but they still want to serve. This is a great way to continue to serve.
Fantastic.
That's great. I learned some new stuff today.
Yes.
Andrea Small from TSA. Thanks again.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, thank you.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the Fly Angle so far. Do us a favor and make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you would.
And again, we love seeing your airmail. Send your question to communications@rdu.com, and we'll make sure we give you a shout out.
We're staying busy, as you can tell. So to keep track of what's happening at RDU between episodes, visit rdu.com or find us on social media using @RDU Airport on Twitter and Facebook and @FlyRDU on Instagram.
We cannot wait to see you soon, and we thank you again for tuning into the Fly Angle.
All right, see you in the skies.